So yeah, so recently in my class we were watching The Long Walk Home. So The Long Walk Home, what basically is, it's a movie about this black family that lives in the 50s between 60s that's live off of a white family. Their mother is a maid of a white family, and the mom of that white family she's not racist. She's not racist. And then blah 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 blah, boycott and all this stuff, all that 60s and 50s stuff. And guess what? The mom gets involved with them and starts helping the blacks, and stuff happens, and it all ends in a bad way. So that's the whole movie basically for you. But it got me thinking. While I was watching the movie, that got me thinking. One thing is, why? Why does racism exist in the world? Why must people hate a man over the different color of their skin? That's not right. That's like a black cat hating a white cat. Oh wait, I just explained racism right there all over again with cats. But seriously, what was even more stupid was when the blacks were singing against the whites, because the whites were all yelling at them to go through this thingy. I don't even know what the heck it was. We're just making a line of stupidity. I don't even know. But they just wanted to make the whites, or not the whites, the blacks walk between the whites just so the whites can just kick them and stuff. Now, that's utterly painful and rude and really stupid just because of the black person. You're gonna make a riot in the streets just over a black person. Wow, the 50s. But again, what was even more stupid was once the blacks were singing against the whites, trying to rebel against them, because that's what they did non-violence protesting, there were these black kids, remember this, black kids, in my class, at the back of the classroom, laughing, like, who the freak do you think you are? You are a heritage of those people. Your grandparents were probably in that age of Martin Luther King, of I don't even know what it's freaking called, sorry, about the time when blacks were protesting against whites with Martin Luther King, non-violence protesting to get their rights to vote, to be on the bus, to walk on the streets, to get the same equality as whites. And you laugh to this? This is why this generation of kids makes me, why? These generation of kids don't understand that blacks back then had it harder than they do now. The blacks these days, if they could go back into the 50s and 60s and see how it felt, they would seriously cry. And they will probably fight whites. But you know what? It makes it even worse if you want to fight a white. Because back then in the 50s and 60s, that's all whites wanted to do with you, was fight black men. Because they treated blacks like animals. That's racism for you right there. A different race treating a different race like animals. Just, what I don't understand is why do they laugh at this? Why do they think this is a joke? Racism has not left the world yet, and there's still racism in the world, but it's not as bad as it was back then in the 50s or 60s, thank the Lord. But there are good blacks and there are bad blacks. Back then in the 50s and 60s, there were good and bad blacks, but there were more good than bad than there is now. Because all blacks wanted back then in the 50s and 60s was to be free, to have the same equality as whites, to be able to ride the bus, to be able to sit at the front of any restaurant, to be able to be treated like human beings. It just gets me to this point too, where I just seriously, like, at that time, I wanted to stand up and seriously just punch those kids and just be like, you don't understand the pain blacks went through during the 50s and 60s, and you're laughing at this. Your grandparents will look at you in despair. They would probably wish you were never born. This is why? Just why? I'm not black, I'm Hispanic. And you can't tell me, but you don't know how blacks feel. I know how it feels because I've been with a friend. I'm friends with a bunch of blacks. And what's sad is they always tell me, I always tell them, have you ever had the talk? Blacks have to go through the talk. Not the freaking birds and bees thing about sex. No, the talk where their parents have to literally talk to them and be like, you're different. You're not like everybody else and you're gonna get hated for it. That's so sad. Why? It's not bad to ask them that, but I want to tell them, like, have you ever gotten to talk before? And most of the time they say, yes, I have gotten to talk before a bunch of times. And they don't care. That's the one thing they tell me, is they don't care if somebody thinks they're different. They just live life to the fullest. They're trying to enjoy the more freedom blacks had back then in the 50s and 60s. They don't care what other race person thinks just because of the color of their skin. And I respect them for that. I do respect them for that. But what's sad is parents have to pass the talk to them and tell them to pass that talk to their kids. And then tell them to pass their talk to their kids. And then keep going and going and going. Because our world is cruel. Our world is cruel. That is never going to change probably in 20 years. Because right now, we're killing Muslims just because they like a different religion. Psh.